I have been a bad boy. I've been a bad fashion daddy, okay? I've been a bad steward and caretaker to the luxury punk aesthetic. And before all of you say that's an oxymoron, you say it every time, even when I call it out specifically. I've put all my eggs in one basket. It has become a bit of a meme in my community that I spend too much time talking about a single brand, a single luxury fashion brand, Enfants Riches Deprimes. The comments come in like clockwork on every video. Low luxury, try not to glaze ERD for one video challenge. And maybe they're right. Maybe I do glaze ERD like I'm a brony in 2014 gooning on my Rainbow Dash toy. If that sentence makes no sense to you, look no further into it, my dear viewer, okay? Please protect your virgin ears and mind. Anyway, there are a lot of people that truly despise Enfants Riches Deprimes. I weirdly get the comment a lot that the brand is jejune. And I think using the word jejune is jejune. I can be grandiloquent too, you mother. So, try not to glaze ERD for one video, huh? Well, challenge accepted. Who is Enfants Riches Deprimes, or ERD? Well, in the past, I would have said that they are a hybrid USA Parisian luxury brand who make punk-influenced, elitist, nihilist couture clothing and fashion. They combine in-your-face ideas and graphics with sophisticated design and high-end materials to produce a unique set of products, and have garnered a pretty rabid fan base in doing so. They've also expertly played the game of pricing and scarcity to reach a fever pitch of hype. But maybe that description gives them a bit too much credit. Lots of my viewers apparently think so, so let's back up, okay? There are a lot of people out there who have a visceral negative reaction to the brand. They often ask me, why do you like it so much? I think I've answered that question enough through all the videos I've made about them, to be honest. So instead, in this video, let's talk about the reasons to hate this brand. Enfants Riches Deprimes, the brand name itself, translates from French to depressed rich kids. For many, the simple idea of walking around with these cringeworthy words on their person is enough to write off the brand entirely, and that name is central to the founding of the brand and the upbringing of its creator. You see, Henry Alexander Levy, the founder of ERD, is a rich kid coming from family money thanks to, let me check my notes here, a water filtration business. Yeah, very punk, very underground, very edgy. Yeah, water filtration. All right, well, Henry, he got into drugs as a teenager and landed in cushy Malibu celebrity rehabs like Visions and Promises, which also sound like straight-edge hardcore bands. But Henry, he also got into punk music around this time, and both of these subcultures, hard drugs and punk rock, have deeply influenced his work with ERD. Now, let me say here, a lot of people immediately write off ERD because they say a rich kid with this family history and punk as a philosophy and a cultural movement are just totally incompatible things. But I grew up in New England, in the Northeast. I knew a whole hell of a lot of punks from rich families, and I don't think their family money inherently made them less punk. But, and this is a massive but, like Sir Mix-a-Lot levels, okay? Those kids did not flaunt their punkness by making and selling multi-$1,000 products. They did so by playing in bands, DIY printing merch, booking DIY shows, starting bedroom record labels, becoming DIY tour managers, or starting budget home recording studios, things like that. Things that gave back to the punk community at reasonable and accessible costs. In fact, there's a whole nother level of punk, a deeper level, the much maligned crust punks who squat, dumpster dive, train hop, and more. And these communities will often participate in radical politics at a level that is probably unfathomable to most of you watching. And even as a lifelong punk, nothing will make you feel like less of a punk than hanging out with some of these people at a show or something. So all of that is to say, wearing Op Ivy shirts and painting Circle Jerks logos on leather jackets doesn't inherently give Henry the punk cred that he so clearly craves, especially given the methods by which he makes his money. In fact, look at the reaction that he had when he was called out by a hardcore punk artist, someone he supposedly looked up to in some way since he printed the dude's band name on a piece. You could say this is based and epic, great troll response or something, or you could say it's defensive and uncalled for. You have to be the judge there, okay? Then, of course, there's price. ERD is one of the most expensive brands in the modern luxury landscape, often charging more for their pieces than mainstays like Gucci or Balenciaga. Honestly, the ERD prices are starting to compete with like Hermes and Chanel and these more like heritage brands, right? And in the early days, Henry claimed that these prices were intentional. He felt like his work was unique and ideologically not for everyone, and the price was a way to weed out customers who didn't really get it, right? After all, someone would only pay $250 for a t-shirt, which is what they cost at the time, if they really got it, right? Well, now in 2025, those ERD shirts are no longer $250. They're more like $700. And the people Henry claimed he was trying to keep out early on are now the people buying up all of the inventory and driving up prices and making the brand inaccessible to potentially the people who might really appreciate it. Instead of keeping people out, the brand's pricing has become a bubble, like a luxury echo chamber, a prison really, which is keeping in the very losers who make their brand look uncool to others. I mean, look no further than Grailed, right? If you search up ERD on Grailed, the prices are insane. It's the same few people buying up all the crazy pieces and marking them up to thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars more than their retail prices. And I hang out in some ERD fan spaces, and the way that these people talk is basically indistinguishable from crypto bros during that boom. They might as well be talking about what coin they're gonna rug pull or something. It is not about the clothes or the design. I get that for most luxury brands, that's not what people care about most, but with ERD especially, it seems like people are more disconnected from the clothes themselves than for any other modern brand. And that's sad for a brand with such a unique and direct perspective on what they're doing. So is ERD worth it? No luxury brand really is. The materials they use, the country of origin, the supply that they have, none of it is worth it in a pure sense. You're paying for the mythos, the ideology, how hyped it is, but for ERD especially, their pieces cannot be that expensive to produce, at least the more ready-to-wear side of things. While I don't think ERD is the worst offender in terms of price to quality, I don't think they're especially better than anyone else either. People who really like to put ERD's quality on a pedestal, there's some good quality pieces, especially when they were using Loro Piana fabrics for knits and things like that, but come on, just go to any forum, Reddit, Instagram, whatever, where people are talking about ERD in depth. You will see quality issues, you will see discrepancies between product photos and the final production runs. There are issues there, okay? And then, of course, there's the design. A lot of people rely on ERD for their design. That's what gets them in the door. But to a large swath of people, the stuff reads as cringe or try hard. For instance, one of the biggest grails in ERD's history is the Goth Girl hoodie. And I don't know, I would love to see a trend of brony level glazing on these pieces. I just want to take them out of production entirely at this point. I think they're played out. I think it's over. And even the Yes I Do Believe in God piece, these things are in your face, offensive, going back to the earliest days with the Mickey Mouse stuff. It works for some people, I get it, but for others, it reads in the absolute wrong way. And I think the brand would tell you that everything comes from a place of nihilism, but at times that feels confused because on the one hand, you could have pieces that say New York Young Republican Club, and then on the other hand, you could have graphics of Stalin. What do you believe? The answer is kind of nothing or everything or chaos, but as somebody who's looking for a coherent ideology, it's just confusing. Now, here's the thing, okay? Your average ERD hater is lobbing criticisms from afar. And it makes sense. Why spend thousands on something that you don't like just so you can talk crap about it, right? Well, I have one of the largest ERD collections out there. I can hold the pieces in my hand, show them to you, and possibly give you the hater's point of view in a concrete sense. We've gone over all of the reasons to hate this brand as a whole, but is there a reason to hate the actual individual pieces they make? Well, let's find out. I have some new pieces from ERD, and instead of just telling you why I like them, I'll give you all of the negatives. The anti-glaze continues, okay? Let's take a look. I'm hereby ordering you to join the Patreon. You'll get an exclusive video every month, exclusive Discord access, exclusive deals on pieces featured on the channel. You can get shouted out in videos like Henry, Repost, Flood. Link is in the description. Join the Patreon. I'm gonna go through these pieces. I'll give you my usual rosy, enthusiastic fan take, but I will also give a new anti-ERD, hypercritical and honest and unflinching look at each of these pieces. By the way, this is also one of like the most expensive videos we've ever done. Under the radar, I wasn't even like promoting that, but this adds up anyway. We'll go from like simplest to craziest, I guess we'll say. So let's start with one of the things the ERD is most famous for, a simple t-shirt. ERD t-shirt, this is a much older one, which is great. This is one of the oldest pieces from the brand. From the very beginning to now, they still make like thin, white, punk rock inspired t-shirts. So this is the classic ERD paper thin cotton right here. You can kind of see my hand through it. That's kind of a telltale sign. Also, you can like see the hanger through it, you know what I mean? At this point in the brand's existence, they were not even doing single stitch hemsette. You can see that's the typical modern double stitch there. And at this point, they were doing like the thinnest collars imaginable, and they are wide. We'll get to that. And it is 100% cotton, made in the USA, and the print at the front here is interesting, right? It is a vehicle and it says X indicates prior damage. And I believe this is a reference to valet parking. Like this is something they do if there is already damage on the vehicle and they want to note it so that if, you know, you try and say, oh, you did this, the valet, no, whatever, you get it. So I think this is kind of referencing the earliest history of the brand. The depressed rich kids, they're getting valet parking, they're going out, they're meeting people, they're not parking their car themselves, they're handing off the keys to a valet. Right? Even the word is French, valet. I've never used a valet in my life. Have you? So it is quite a simple graphic, and that gives us a great inroad to criticize this. So first of all, on the graphic itself, okay, scribbles, it's kind of rudimentary. Like what, you think you can just charge me luxury prices for pencil drawing circles on a t-shirt? Number one. And then this, right, the graphic in the middle, kind of flaunting your privilege in a way. The cotton is incredibly light. Like, I don't even want to know what the GSM on this, like 140 maybe? And I'm guessing when they first made this, the price was either $250 or $300. This same shirt today from ERD would be more like $650. That is objectively too much money for cotton this thin. What, that's worth $600 to you, this hand that you can see through here? You're gonna see my nips. They'd be like right here. There, that's where my nipples are actually. The neckline is incredibly wide. A lot of people really dislike these wide necklines. Typically, I enjoy it. I think it's kind of sleazy. It gives space for a necklace or something like that to really shine. But I know many people who do not dig this type of cut whatsoever. So it's there and it's wide. And at the back, it's just totally blank. So, I mean, it's kind of low effort, right? You've got one simple, one color print on the front, nothing at the back on the thinnest cotton imaginable, right? What makes this worth $250 to $650? Now, for me, this checks all the boxes of what I'm looking for. I love these paper thin t-shirts. I love these cuts, kind of a drop shoulder, wide neck. Checks my boxes, but I would not blame somebody for being like, that's just an awful t-shirt. You know what I mean? Next up, we have a very unique piece, something you don't see from ERD every day. We have got a pair of shorts. So this is a pair of black shorts from ERD, and these ones you really never see. Like, I pretty much never see the black ones. I've seen the tan and red ones quite a few times, but I feel like they made way less of the black. But I'm glad I got it because it just fits way more into my own aesthetic and the colors I tend to wear. Really interesting cut, kind of like feminine, I would say, where the legs cut upwards like this. And as you can see, it's kind of pinstriped, like seersucker pinstriped, I think is the best way to say it. So if you look in here, you've got kind of flatter areas and then stripes of this kind of puckered seersucker. The fabrication is so incredibly interesting. And then you've got embroidery here, of course, ERD, but most prominently, and on the tan one, this is really visible, but I like here, it's way more subtle. You have some embroidery that goes all the way down the left leg, and it's like, what a waste, blank tape in the machine, no input. It's just some cool stuff, right? Wrong. Remember, we're being critical here, okay? So the lyrics down the leg. Is it kind of try hard? Is it a rich kid, a rich drug addict, former drug addict, sure, in recovery, same here, respect. Is it him just trying to prove he can be cool and edgy and throw like some lyrics, poems, or whatever? I tried to look it up. I couldn't figure out what it was from. Let me know if you know. But it's just like a bunch of word vomit on the leg. Is that the best you can do? Is that worth your money? Because again, these I believe were $900 retail, something like that. But before you make a determination, let's see the rest of these things. So elasticated waist, kind of a thin waist right here. And the back is kept quite simple, but you have a single pocket going down right here. So really the main feature is the embroidery at the front, and just the striped seersucker fabrication is very cool too. And the fabric on these is cotton and acrylic. So again, that is another criticism you could levy of these. Like, you would think these would probably be 100% cotton, or maybe like some cotton with some nylon is something you see, but you don't usually see acrylic in ERD stuff, and I think it's right to criticize that for the price point. So I'm hoping as it gets hotter that these are gonna work well for me. I quite like them, but I think it's really fair to say that, like, do these feel luxury? All right, we're getting into the good stuff now. This is the big money hype stuff, but I think the more hype you get, the more there is to criticize. So we have got a sweatshirt right here. Let's get it hung up. All right, so as of the time of recording here, this is the most recent Le Rosé piece that ERD has released. And this is a motif, Le Rosé, that ERD has been doing literally from day one. I think in the first capsule collection that they released, there was a t-shirt that said Le Rosé. And if you don't know, that is the very expensive, very prestigious Swiss boarding school that Henry Levy, the creator of ERD, went to when he was a kid. So it is really, really getting right to the heart of what people both like and don't like about ERD. This is putting it right in your face, saying, I am rich. I went to one of the most expensive boarding schools in the world, okay? And you can either relate to that or find it aspirational in some way, or you can be like, what a spoiled trust fund Nepo baby brat, right? Now, this symbol is a bit of a tougher one. I couldn't find the exact reference, but I'm pretty sure this is like a Prussian thing. Again, the brand uses the Iron Cross a lot, which is also a Prussian motif largely, so they go back to that well quite a bit. And that's kind of a mixed bag, the Prussia thing. What's with the Prussia worship, right? You could look at them as a positive force in unifying Germany, things like that. Or you could also look at them as negative for their militarism, authoritarianism, but it all goes into like the complex politics that ERD is always referencing. So you could absolutely hate on that and be like, that's corny, that's gross, or you could even say that's leaning in a fascist direction, and I wouldn't even really argue with you on that. Or you could just be like, shut up, nerd, it looks cool, okay? Now, this is a raglan sleeve sweatshirt, and this one retailed for $1,500. Let's just keep that in mind. Ribbed hem, ribbed cuffs, and some really interesting distressing at the right arm, where you get these differently colored patches, repaired patches of thermal, actually, which is a bit of foreshadowing to the next piece we'll be looking at. But, whew, okay. $1,500 bucks. Is it worth it? It's actually lighter than most ERD sweatshirts I've had. It's got the fleeciest inside. Usually they do more of a terry. This is bordering on fleece. So it's gonna be a bit more soft and drapey, especially with the lightness, again, than other sweatshirts from them. So it might end up looking kind of lazy or like you don't care or whatever. It may, I don't know, say something other than luxury. And there are a lot of ERD pieces that do that. They do not read as pure luxury, and that's why people like it. But you might also be like, what am I paying $1,500 for? The fit's weird. Look at how big that arm is. It's just a weird fit, and I could see people just not being a fan, you know? And once again, you couldn't bother to put anything on the back. A little of that distressing, some more of that thermal somewhere, a little something. You just don't care what you look like from the back. I do. Don't you, Henry? Don't you, Enfants Riches Deprimes? Okay? Give me a little something on the back next time, please. Now, it is 100% cotton, okay? It is made in the USA, no acrylic like last time, but we're even more expensive than the last piece as well. So if you were to give the negative take on this, it's privileged, rich kid, fake fascist, fake punk stuff that is insanely expensive. And if you like this, you should literally go buy, you could buy the material, a sewing machine, all of the threads, needles, everything you need, the thermal, a screen printing setup, some ink. You could make this entire thing from scratch for significantly less than the retail price of this piece. But that's kind of the nature of luxury, isn't it? Any kind of luxury t-shirt or hoodie, you can make that same argument for. So what do you think? All right, our last piece here is unquestionably the best, or not the best, right? We're criticizing, it's the craziest. No question. By the way, ERD's packaging, I got this direct from them. It's getting better and better. They're putting more and more effort into their packaging every season. And I do appreciate that. But the criticism, yeah, what? You're going to charge me $2,000 for a single piece and then all I get's a ribbon? F you, ERD. Anyway, this is the anti-process thermal lined zip hoodie. Let's hang it up. Sheesh. Okay, whoa. All right. So this is a zip-up hoodie from ERD, and that's a lot of bush. Just so you know, that's some Kate Bush going on right there. This thing is insane, and the exact opposite problem of the last piece. That last one was one of the lightest sweatshirts I've ever seen from ERD. This is unquestionably the heaviest hoodie I've ever seen from them, and there is good reason for that. It's because the entire thing, the whole ass thing, is completely lined in thermal fabric. Remember I said the thermal was foreshadowing. This time you get in the entire thing, okay? So it's essentially a double layer hoodie. It's a kind of thinner layer of this red cotton with a full thin thermal lining throughout. But again, it adds a lot of weight. You may not like a giant heavy hoodie on you. If you live, especially if you live in a warmer area, this may not work for the seasonality you're going for. But this is kind of one of their like assemblage pieces where they're taking different patches and stuff, which criticism they stole from punk. That's a DIY punk thing, and now you're charging $2,000. This one, by the way, $2,150, I believe, is the retail on this. So ERD, you think you can charge $2,000 for simple DIY aesthetics that you stole from punk? Hey, what do you think you're doing here? Anyway, we've got our woman right here staring down at you. The split patch, pretty cool, but also like not perfectly lined up. They didn't take the chunk out, but I guess they wanted to keep the titties and the bush intact. But hey, that is a criticism. They didn't, it's not perfectly lined up. Look at that face, that's kind of weird. Auto-destructive art, you've got a little right up here going down to the hem, which is not a ribbed hem this time. It's like a interesting double layered thing that kind of peeks in at the bottom. I haven't really seen that before. Weird. Branded metal zipper, kind of on the chunkier side. And then you've got all sorts of patches here. We've got one right here at the arm. And you also have Hebrew there. That's something they did a lot in the season. They put out this piece, a lot of Hebrew stuff, which you could say maybe it's anti-Semitic. Maybe, depending on how you interpret it. Henry Levy, the founder of the brand, is Jewish, but there's definitely some anti-Semitic self-hating Jews out there. You know what I mean? It's also true. I don't know. I'm not going to say too much more for fear of getting too political, but you've got some distressing here so you can see the thermal through there. So that doesn't go straight through to your skin. There is the thermal still there underneath. And there's a lot of stuff going on in the back here. So we've got Japanese paneling here, Okay, what? You just got some Japanese? Is this like when a person gets a Japanese tattoo and then someone else tells them like, oh, that says ramen noodles. And they're like, no, maybe. I don't know, you'd have to translate it. Got some patches at the back and then the anti-process layered patches at the back here. And you can see there's like some sun fading here. It's kind of more orangey at the top, gets redder to the bottom. Kind of cool effect, I think. But criticisms, okay, the shoulders, super dropped. So it's like long arms, dropped shoulders, kind of like lazy fit again, but then very cropped as well. So again, I know a lot of people do not like super cropped stuff, so this may just not be the piece for you. I think depending on your height, it may just not look very good even. At the hood, what, there's no drawstring? You've just got the holes there? No, not even. This is just sewing for the holes, but there's not even a hole there. So even if I had my own drawstring that I wanted to use, I would have to like cut those open and string it through. So what, you couldn't even give me real holes? Or if you weren't gonna put a drawstring in, what's the point? You're just posers putting in holes for it there? Okay, that's not very luxurious, just saying. And then at the inside, it honestly feels like very, I don't know, handmade. And you could say that's kind of a criticism for $2,000. Like, where's the consistency and the high level craft? Like, you can see the kind of like waviness of this, because what they're trying to do is like tighten, pull in the hem there. So it's kind of like wavy, baby. You know what I mean? That's worth criticizing if you were interested in doing some criticism here. So $2,100 for a 100% cotton hoodie made in the USA. Obviously, this one has the most work associated with it of any of the pieces we've seen. There's the most going on here, from the double layer, the lining, the distressing, the various patches, the screen printing, the zipper, yada, yada, yada. It is the most complex and, in my opinion, the coolest. This is my favorite piece of the ones I've showed you, but man, once you start getting into that 2,000 plus territory for a single piece, you've got to be bringing a lot to the table to make it worth it, or else you're just wasting people's time and wasting their money. I mean, what's going on here? What happened there, huh? A little distressing, okay, at the cuff. What's that all about, huh? What's this little butt crack going on here? Again, it's that tightening. It's that right there. Is that, I don't know, a quality assurance fail? Should that have been worked out? I mean, I kind of just worked it out myself. It'll probably work out as I wear it, but that consistency, that's what you got to bring to the table when you're charging that kind of money. It's got to be perfect. And this isn't perfect. Very few ERD pieces are. They would say probably that that's kind of like punk. That's the attitude of the brand. That's the ethos you're buying into. But a hater or a criticizer, even not even a full-on hater, could say it's lazy and you've got to try harder. All right, we've checked out the details of these pieces. We've said all the reasons why you may not like this, but do they look good? Because if they don't look good, that's a whole other reason to dislike them. So we've got to try these on, see how they feel, how they fit. Do they actually work as pieces of fashion? Let's check it out. All right, so I think if we're talking about being critical of Enfants Riches Deprimes, like normally I'd try to put these together in a certain context with some other things, but we have so many pieces and ones that almost make a full outfit that I think we've just got to try them on and almost take the extra approach of being like, we're not thinking about style right now, we're thinking about how much ERD we can wear at once. So just kind of look at these in isolation instead of as a whole when we're going through these, but I mean, maybe some will work and maybe some really won't, but let's see what happens here. First things first, we have the older t-shirt. The X indicates prior damage, t-shirt in white. And just throwing this thing on, it is exactly what you would expect from an older, paper-thin, white ERD t-shirt. It has that kind of silky quality where, like when you're folding it to put it away, you can't like get all the wrinkles out because it like sticks to itself. That's how fine and thin the knit of the jersey is, but that's always fun. So you've got these interesting natural kind of drapey wrinkles that start to happen. You can see it around my sides a little bit. And obviously that neckline is super wide as well. I don't think there's like a whole lot to criticize here on like the fit and look. It fits essentially like a size small t-shirt, which is what this is. Like they hadn't gotten super out there with their cuts and silhouettes at this point yet, outside of the wide necklines, which some people really like and some people don't. So I think if you were to criticize, it would just be that it's not that exciting. It's a very, very typically cut men's t-shirt. And maybe if you were looking to pay luxury pricing, you'd hope for more than that. Maybe some people, if they were to get this t-shirt, they'd be a bit disappointed by the, ordinariness of it. All right, let's move on to these shorts, the black shorts. These things, they look really short. They're like short shorts. I'm curious to see what happens, but as we wear these, we also need some shoes. I've got the green Chelsea boots, also from ERD, just sticking with the theme here. And maybe the green will play off some of the reds and things later, we'll see. But now we've got the shorts on, we've got the boots on, and some bare legs. And you know what? I enjoy this. If it was summer, I would happily go out wearing this. It feels kind of like tough guy. Bare legs with boots is always like a fun, interesting look. But these shorts, they have a really distinctive cut. They do have that flare kind of at the legs where it's significantly above the knee. You know what I mean? You gotta have some confidence in your legs if you're gonna wear these. And thankfully, I like some short shorts. I come from the hardcore punk scene where for a long time now, one of the staples during the summer is just cut off jeans, like rolled up to the cuffs above the knee, So this one I have no problem with. The seersucker, it feels really good. The elasticated waist, these I think are tagged a size smaller, size 30, and if it's about right, maybe a little bit big, but the elastication does its job there. So I think you can't levy the same criticism at these that you did at the t-shirt. This does have a considered silhouette. You might not like it, but at least they did something here and put some thought into it. It's not your standard regular pair of shorts. But my criticism here, now that I'm wearing it, would be that these are unlined. And I'm sure that is intentional. They wanted a lighter, breezier fit. Lining adds to the weight. It adds to how warm it is, you know what I mean? But isn't it a nice coincidence that not lining them also makes them cheaper to make for the brand? So when you've got the fact that it's cotton and acrylic, which is not a super high-end fabrication blend, and then you've got the fact that they are unlined, what you end up with is a fairly simple and probably cheap to manufacture pair of shorts. Now, I do think that's a bit unfair as a fan of these. Like, if you were to ask me what I thought about them, this is not what I would say. But if you were nitpicking, that's the knit you would pick. All right, next up, we've got the Le Rosé raglan sleeve sweatshirt. I'm really excited to try this one on because the fit looks really unique here. I don't know what to expect. So throwing it on, let's find out. Interesting. Okay, so we've kind of skipped forward in time as we've gone through these pieces from oldest to newest so far, and the cuts and silhouettes have gotten more and more and more kind of odd and singular and unique as we've gone on, because with this sweatshirt, they are making some choices. It's up to you whether you think it's a good choice or a bad choice, but the choices are being made. So this is very kind of drapey and flowy and baggy, but you can see it's kind of elasticating and bunched up at the waist because it's quite cropped, okay? And it's a bit longer at the front than it is in the back. And you've got these very billowy sleeves and a slightly wider neck and this fleecy interior. Just all of this is very, very odd. I've never worn another sweatshirt that has a cut anything like this. Like, this is not an existing pattern. They drew this up from scratch, and it's up to you whether you like it or not. I mean, the billowy sleeves are probably the make or break. You can see I've got kind of like a balloony type shape from the sleeves here. Some people are gonna really hate that. Other people are gonna like it. For me, I think I'm actually in the middle. I think it's one of those things that would look really great in the right application, but if you do it wrong, it's gonna look really, really terrible. So I guess just caution with this one, that's all. All right, the anti-process hoodie. I am a zip-up hoodie freak. I will take a zip-up hoodie over a pullover hoodie every single day of the week. So I was really excited to get this one, and the patches are insane in your face with this one. I just really like the design. The color's super cool. So I'm excited to try this on and see what happens. But trying it on, there's some things that I'd seen before I bought this that scared me about it. And thankfully, seeing it on and feeling it on, I don't feel like those necessarily apply to me. So let me explain here. This hoodie, much like that sweatshirt, they are from the same season after all, has a very weird fit. So you can see it already, like the body of this is very, very wide. The shoulders are as dropped as any piece I have ever seen or worn before, and the body continues to be wide as well. So that means you also end up with really long sleeves that kind of bag up down at the wrists, and then it's also cropped. So all these things are working with and against each other in certain ways. And I will say, much like Eddie Slimane's designs at Saint Laurent or Dior or even Celine, like ERD's stuff throughout history has mostly only been kind to skinny people. I am one by chance, you know, good or bad, whatever you make of it, that's me. And I think these pieces are kind of made for people with that build. So to me, I feel like it works pretty well. But I have seen some other fits using this hoodie on other people around online, things like that. And to people with a bigger frame, the cut of this hoodie just doesn't really work that well. And that's something that you have to accept. Not every piece is for everybody. There are certain pieces that on my frame also look really, really bad. You know what I mean? So this one is maybe the most dangerous of the bunch in terms of you could end up spending $2,200 or more on resale markets on something like this, and then end up with something with a cut that just does not work for you at all. So this one you gotta be super careful with. All right, that's the video. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you think of ERD. Hopefully I have balanced the scales for you and you can have an honest look. Decide for yourself, are they cool? Are they uncool? Are you somewhere in the middle? Let me know down below. Like, comment, subscribe, do all these engagement-y things that help me in the YouTube algorithm. Join the Patreon, and I'll see you next time.